Guys, our guest today is Brooke Goldstein, and she's been on the podcast before, and unfortunately, we seem to meet here under unfortunate circumstances. The last time I had Brooke Goldstein on, I think she came out of a shelter, a bomb shelter, after an attack against Israel. She lives in Israel, but was on vacation with her family in Italy when the latest attacks occurred. She's a human rights attorney. She founded the Lawfare Project in 2010. It's an American nonprofit based in New York City. It's a legal think tank and also a litigation fund to defend the civil and human rights of Jewish people and pro-Israel community worldwide. The website, by the way, thelawfareproject.org. Brooke, thanks for joining me under these really strange and distressing circumstances. Although we had you on the podcast before and there was an attack on Israel the last time as well, it seems like the events of the last few days are in a completely different category, and that from the point of view of Israelis, really the world changed this past weekend or over these past few days. Explain why.
Well, you're absolutely right. First of all, Dinesh, I want to thank you for having me on, and I want to thank you for continually speaking the truth and telling the world what is really going on amongst so much moral equivalence that is happening in the justification of terror. I'm very grateful to be here. Yes, absolutely. What's happened is very unique, I have to say, is a colossal intelligence and security failure. The people of Israel, and in fact, Jewish people worldwide, are feeling a sense of total insecurity. I don't know if you know this, but Jewish stores are being attacked. There was a Jewish person that was just beaten up in San Diego, because this is not about a regional war, about a piece of land. This is about Jew hatred, and it's the same Jew hatred that we as a people have been dealing with and been victimized by for hundreds of years. Right now, it's theologically motivated Islamist terrorism. Hamas is exactly like ISIS. They are funded and supported by the same people. They engage in the same brutality and murderous tactics. We know now that there has been active coordination and funding by the Iranian regime to support the recent terrorist attack against Israeli civilians. Now, what is so different is that we saw an unprecedented breach of the border between Israel and Gaza, and a security failure that I'm still really having a hard time understanding. We are in a state of shock. The massacre of civilians, over 1,000 Israeli civilians, including U.S. citizens, German citizens, citizens of Nepal, 250 young people who were dancing and celebrating life at a desert party, Holocaust survivors, grandmothers, families massacred before their children, families burned alive in their houses, women taken, dozens of women now being held hostage in Gaza, being raped, their bodies being mutilated, paraded through the streets so Palestinians can further abuse the dead bodies and cheer and hand out sweets. The level of brutality is something I think we haven't seen in a long time. And I guess if you could call it a silver lining, though I'm uncomfortable with that terminology, the world is now waking up. They are now seeing exactly who the Palestinian Islamists are. They are now understanding what so-called pro-Palestinian advocacy is. It is pro-terror advocacy.
So, Brooke, when you talk about the intelligence failure, what you're describing, I think, is the fact that it would be one thing if there were 1 or 5 or maybe even a dozen fighters who infiltrated into southern Israel from Gaza, finding their way to tunnel or get across those border checkpoints and so on. But you're saying for 1,000 fighters, which I think is roughly the number that they've talked about, to get through heavily armed and be able to go door to door in Israeli neighborhoods. Is this what you mean when you say, I don't even understand how this even occurred?
Correct. Absolutely. There are reports of over 1,000, and they're not fighters. They're bloodthirsty, murderous, genocidal, terrorist animals crossed into Israel through land, by sea, and by air. I'm sure you've seen the videos of them coming in these parasails with machine guns, machine gunning down civilians. We were attacked with rocket launchers. These scenes out of Israel are just apocalyptical. There's a video that I uploaded, for example, on Instagram where someone was driving down a highway in the south and there's just bombed out cars and dead bodies. These are highways that I travel frequently. I could have easily been at this desert music festival. I mean, just the thought is so horrifying to me. And then going in Israel, we're used to hearing about the idea of following and tracking and knowing in advance about these plots and taking them down and dealing with them outside of Israel's borders. But to be attacked in Israel like this, for terrorists to hold over 5 Jewish towns in the south for hours and hours without proper military presence to help them, civilians fighting, moms and dads and sisters and brothers fighting with their bare hands to the death, okay? Parents being butchered in front of their own children being taken as hostages and taunted on the streets of Gaza. This type of Nazi brutality has not been seen since the Holocaust. We haven't had over 1,000 Jews murdered in one day since the Holocaust. So those of us on social media and in the advocacy world who are constantly saying never again, we're in a state of shock. How is it that in 2023, Jewish people are being massacred in the Jewish state, and yet we are now on social media defending our right to life, defending against people who are justifying these brutal Islamist terrorist attacks? And I want to say something that's so important for Americans in the free world to understand. What starts with the Jews never ends with the Jews. And the chance that we saw in New York City when hundreds of pro-Hamas demonstrators showed up in New York City were globalize the Intifada. That is what they are chanting. And what they mean is to bring these terroristic tactics, as they have before with 9/11, to Western soil, to US soil, to Europe. And if the Western world doesn't stand firmly in support of life and freedom, then we are going to have a problem, because Iran is behind this, and Iran's tentacles are around the world, and they have sleeper cells around the world. So it is paramount that our politicians, that our academia, and that NGOs, and of course the United Nations stand firm and condemn unequivocally, without any type of excuses, this brutal terroristic murder of civilians, and demand that the hostages immediately be let free.
Let's take a pause. We'll be right back with Brooke Goldstein. Debbie and I are on a really good health journey, but we still struggle to eat enough fruits, veggies, and fiber, and that's a requirement. And lucky for us, we discovered Balance of Nature, and what better way to get all your fruits and veggies plus fiber than with Balance of Nature. This is Balance of Nature's fruits and veggies in a capsule, so easy to take, made from fresh whole produce. The produce is powdered after an advanced vacuum cold process, which stabilizes the maximum nutrient content. And this is Balance of Nature's Fiber and Spice, a proprietary blend of fiber and 12 spices for overall and digestive health. Join Debbie and me. Start your journey to better health right now. Call 800-246-8751 or go to balanceofnature.com. You'll get 35% off your first preferred order by using discount code America. Again, it's balanceofnature.com or call 800-246-8751. Get 35% off your first preferred order by using discount code America.